That's not a Megalodon! What the fuck? This is the current average experience in Vow of Iron. No, really, it's literally just Titus actually everywhere. Which, given the fact that the devs delayed this update for 2 weeks and then 8 more hours on the day it was supposed to release, I think it's insane that not only didn't we get a timely release, but a bug as major as 12 Tituses being spawned everywhere on the map managed to sneak into the game, along with clipping issues, map bugs, and more. This update is honestly just a mess right now, and while I don't hate it and I actually love a lot of it, and it's actually the first update to bring me back to Deepwoken for a good amount of time in the last few years, it still has problems. So in today's video, I want to cover the things that I do and don't like about it. I'm currently live at twitch.tv/Reaconteur playing FNAF 3, so come over and watch me on that, and let's get straight into it. Alright, starting with the things I like, I love hearing the devil whisper into my ear upon rejoining a new server.
Shut down Kex 25 depth servers, both Iron, Vow, and Normal.
I love being able to name my character Yakub, and I actually do like a lot of the new lore additions. I'm still getting through it, but I promise I'll be doing a big Vow of Iron lore video covering everything after I've beaten the Lord Regent, which, you know, soon. That'll take a while. And while the lore additions are great, a lot of it just isn't, which I'll talk about the stuff that doesn't work in the lore later, but what I do disagree with as far as the community goes are the bosses, or at least the main one that people are struggling with right now, which, oh my god, people are going to hate the Rat King when they get to him, even more so the Lord Regent. But the main one that people complain about is the Shogun Captain. I'm not gonna lie, you guys are kind of just bad. like, you're just upset that you can't beat it in the first couple of attempts, because you guys just get greedy and impatient. Like, you get a single hit after basically every parry or dodge or active action, and it just sounds like you guys are getting greedy. Which, by the way, I'm just gonna say this, heavy weapons are the way to go as far as the Vow of Iron goes, at least so far. Maybe there's gonna be some crazy stuff with light people haven't found yet, but if you have the option of a heavy weapon, just take it. And if you want to get through bosses and you don't really care about going through players, or you don't care about like sustain, then you should probably just go Berserker, because you'll do a ton more damage with the Berserk skill since it ignores armor, and you also won't need to worry about repairing or getting armor because it doesn't matter on Berserker. I think Berserker is just the easiest, most mainstream class, even though I do think St. J is still the best. You get a Beloff spawn, you get a bunch of sustaining and healing stuff, and you can heal a lot off of that crit with the weapon. I just think that Berserker is the easiest, and personally it's what I prefer to play. But as for the bosses, it just seems like you guys aren't aware of what Deepwoken's inspirations are, because Deepwoken is inspired by Souls-like games, and for a long time I've thought it was way too easy, and this is starting to approach my difficulty standards. But the most punishing part about it is actually just having to get to the bosses again without the teleporter, which, I mean, it's annoying because Souls games, for example, don't really have runbacks or reprogression like that. Like, if you just fight the bosses like actual Souls-like bosses and you be more patient, you'll be fine, but I hate the runbacks, which brings me to my least favorite part about Vow of Iron, the map. The map is very annoying to traverse, and there's monster spawns everywhere, which wouldn't be a problem, but for some reason they just spawn Titus sometimes. I don't know why. And it's not like Titus is attacking me near monster spawns. I've on multiple occasions just had Titus replace monster spawns. And you also don't heal anything off of killing monsters early on, or even late game. I haven't gotten the talents for that. Which, by the way, can I talk about artificial difficulty for just a second? I'll cover it more. The worst example of artificial difficulty in this is the healing and regen. First of all, there's no passive regen, which didn't need to exist. Like, that just doesn't need to be in the game. And second of all, you cannot heal without a campfire. At all. Which, like, even if I, you know, didn't have a campfire, which you obviously usually will because you get a free lumber axe, so you can just chop down trees, and you also get free flint. But oh my god, it's so annoying that you don't even heal off of killing enemies, because then if you're fighting enemies that are actually hard and you're fighting more than one of them, yeah, I get you're probably supposed to be, like, at a significant disadvantage when you're outnumbered, but dude, give me a heal, because I'm healing less than a single hit from any given enemy per kill on an enemy. And the problem is that for some reason the enemies rarely spawn solo. So with no passive regen, you better have a campfire pit on you, and you better chop some trees down before you start, because you're gonna need it. And then, of course, the monster spawns are just juiced by 500% for no reason, which, like, why do the Threshers in Starswift Valley, for example, this isn't really a problem because, you know, I just realized you could do Trial of One, but I had the Threshers respawn right after I just killed them when I was in the campfire, and then 2 of them jumped me and one-shot me. Why are there always 2?! But yeah, this isn't really a problem though. You can just speedrun everything up to level 5, which if you don't know, if you take the farthest right teleporter on the second floor of the Citadel spawn area, and then you just do the Trial of 1, which isn't even any harder than the other Trial of 1, other than the fact that you don't get heals, then it literally just takes you up to power 5, because you get 8,000 free notes, and you get like 3,000 in excess, so you're probably going to be more than power 5 by the time you beat the Shogun. But if you guys were going to make the map this annoying to traverse, why couldn't you guys at least make the teleport points that you have and that you can unlock save across your slots and your like progressions? Because you can either get the main 3 spawns and not do anything, but then if you approach the pods, you get 2 different ones, maybe 3 different ones. I don't know if it's glitched in some servers, but I've only gotten 2 at a time. Usually being 2 of the 3 being Monkey's Paw Island, Trial of 1, and then the ship where you can fight Titus. Now from there, you can't get the main 3 spots back, so if you want to teleport to those, you can't anymore, or maybe you have to beat the bosses before you can. And then if you unlock the Temple of Myr teleportation spot, you just can't get the others and that one at the same time. Like, why? Is this intentional? And why not just let us permanently unlock the teleportation spots, which would fix the biggest problem with this update, being the fact that you have to literally do like progression and runbacks to bosses, which is stupid. And I get, yeah, you have the teleportation, but how am I supposed to go to Trial of 1 if I have to go to Trial of 1 to progress to power 5, but then I can't go back to teleport to the Temple of Myr, so now I gotta get my ass all the way back over there. I don't understand why it's like that. Why not just let us permanently unlock the teleportation spots, and then once we have them, we can go to any of the 6 spots that we have unlocked, probably more by the time people find everything in the game. And you wanna know what tells me that this wasn't tested enough, despite the 15 days worth of delays? The fact that when you step into the teleporter, if you press the cancel button, you instantly get the UI pulled back up if you take a step while inside of the teleporter. How do you even manage to allow this into the game after 2 weeks of testing? It's not a major issue, but it's not like hard to deal with. It's an easy fix, and it's a tiny little quality of life thing that's so apparent that there's no way testers wouldn't have found it. It just shows an insane lack of care, because how is that in the game? As for progression, after getting power 5, which is super easy, just do the Trial of 1 and get your free 8,000 notes. Go and fight the Shogun. From there, you can fight other bosses like Primadon, Rat King, etc. to make your way up to the Lord Regent. Look, now the worst part about it is probably going to be the depths regardless. There's a lot of problems with the depths in Vow of Iron. Spawning in the Trial means that there's always like 30 people waiting in a line or ganking at the spawn for no reason just to be annoying, which means it's literally faster to just wipe yourself and get back to power 5 than to wait to get into a depths trial by yourself 99% of the time. So the only time when it's worth it is after you've already broken your level cap past level 5, because then at that point it'll maybe be a bit worth it. And also Layer 2 doesn't exist, which kind of sucks. I get that Chaser wouldn't be down there because this is set about 40 or 38 years in the past in comparison to canon Deepwoken, but it's kind of lame that Layer 2 is just completely gone. But then again, there's even more complications since there's no Claris to pull you out or Ignition Unit Deep Drill. I guess it couldn't work very well lore-wise, but do you want to know what else doesn't work lore-wise? The Enforcer Squibbos. Not only is it disgustingly strong, but it doesn't even make sense. It sounds like Deepwoken's shitty fanfiction that they put in the game. And lore-wise, yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. Enforcers are made from the souls of people who die in the trials. Squibbos, first of all, wouldn't be in the trials because they don't leave the depths, and despite being intelligent creatures, like, do they even have souls? Like, they probably don't even have souls, at least not to our knowledge. And the funniest part is, this was in a Deepwoken suggestion that had like 300 X's on it because of how stupid it was. It was literally Deepwoken fanfiction that nobody wanted, but they added it into the game and it doesn't work. It does not work. It doesn't work. You guys are kind of like breaking the whole idea of what the Enforcers are meant to be to add this into the game. Now, as for the depth trials themselves, they're purposely punishing and they're super hard, but it's honestly poorly executed in my opinion. They literally just make you fight slightly weaker health-wise versions of enemies that are meant to not be fought at your level. You have Parliament, the Alpha or Prime Sharkos, the black ones, the really like void black ones, and then Bone Keepers that keep flinging me out of the map, by the way. And while they have a lot less health, they still do massive amounts of damage, punishing you for basically everything, with this only being made up for by the faster progression methods that we have in Vow of Iron. With that being said though, the disparity between these stupid trials is insane, because you have the black Sharkos, which is fine, right? Those things are basically just big Sharkos. They're kind of the easiest to deal with. The only problem is that Vow of Iron's a bit laggy right now, so sometimes the Cero Beam will hit you anyway, doing half your health. And then you have the Parliament, which honestly is kind of just like fighting an owl. It's fine. But then you have Bone Keepers, who are also fine, but like, look at the disparity between that. You have Bone Keepers, which are a regular enemy, Prime Sharkos, which are a mini-boss, and then just a straight-up slightly weaker version of a boss that does full damage to you. It's kind of stupid. And as for artificial difficulty, let's talk about every source of artificial difficulty that I've noticed in Valve Iron so far. First of all, one life. I don't think this was necessary. I don't think one life makes the game any harder. It just makes you wipe more often because going to the depths is miserable. Second of all, the fact that people just like getting into a trial elevator is impossible. It's actually harder to wipe in Valve Iron than it is to wipe normally, because I can't just get into the trial elevator and wipe. I have to either fight a player, which that takes time even if I let them beat me up, or I have to run out and then jump into the void or something, and it's stupid. And then there's the no healing, which I already covered earlier, which is just its own stupid problem. Like, that just shouldn't be a thing. I don't know why they did that. It doesn't really make the game harder either, because they give you the flasks as a way to actively heal, which is a Dark Souls reference, but that's for another video. But the point being, why is it like this? Why do we have better active healing, we have better sustain, but then you just remove the passive ability? So it's like you go St. J and you get all your flasks, and you're good, but then if you don't do that, you're just kind of nerfing yourself, with the only other alternative being Berserker, and then the other three classes are anywhere from mid, like the Flame Worshipper, to just straight up bad if you want to play the Sightless or the Rogue Assassin, because they are just bad. And I get that the reason why they exist is kind of to be like roguelike game-style challenges, so I honestly don't mind that they're bad, but could you like at least buff the Sightless and give you like Blind Seer at level 5 or something, because being blind the whole time is painful, and you're gonna need it to unlock all the future classes or whatever. Now, the absolute worst part, though, is the glitches. Sometimes the teleporters are off and bug you in weird spots, sometimes they turn you invisible, and sometimes they do both, and you get jumped by Titus outside of the map while you can't see anything, which happened to me twice. I should have the footage playing during this section, but that happened to me twice. I got stuck under the map where Titus was supposed to spawn, and for some reason I was completely invisible, and then Titus just teleports on top of me. Great. Now, overall, I do think it is still a good update. I like it. I like the big parts of it, right? I'm happy we're getting new lore and bosses, and I can't wait to make videos on the lore and stuff. And honestly, I think the bosses are fine as far as difficulty goes. Just don't be a bitch. Maybe I'm a bit out of touch as far as difficulty goes because I was, you know, a ex-top 70 Sekiro speedrunner, and I play a lot of Souls-like games. Number 67 in Sekiro speedrunning, version 1.03, glitchless 100% category. Deathless as well. But I think the overall worst part is definitely going to be the runbacks and progressing to fight bosses, because in Souls-like games, right, you just get to reattempt things over and over, and it's quite easy to get back to a boss that might take you 30 attempts or more. The most I've ever struggled on any Souls-like boss was Genichiro in Sekiro, and that took me like probably 60 attempts the first time I ever played through that game, and I love that game now. But in Deepwoken, the Shogun, for example, might take the average person like 10 attempts at most if you do it well in like Power 5 Berserker builds. If you're like Supa and you want to go in at Power 1 every time, then it'll take you around 30 attempts, which I think he was at 25 when I was watching his stream. But regardless, that's like 10 minutes of progression each time you want to fight it, and that 10 attempts takes over an hour. And that's because the trial in the depths aren't worth doing because there's one elevator with 30 people down there. So if anything, like add a mini elevator or more elevators or something that anyone can use to go up there into the trial solo, because as it is, the depths actually sucks to deal with. Everything about the depths is hell. It is lore accurate hell. I would rather have all of my skin flayed from my body and just have like meat hooks ringing out of me, tearing me apart while liquid molten metal is poured into my mouth while I'm in like the perpetual agony machine that's keeping me alive while keeping me in torment at the same time, than deal with anyone in the depths in Vow of Iron. It is miserable. Anyway, it just kind of feels halfway between fan fiction and an actual major update because of how jarring it actually is. Like, the depths feels weird and unfinished without layer 2, and because you kind of just spawn at the elevator, it makes it feel like an isolated chamber that you're barely incentivized to leave from, which kind of breaks the immersion of the Deepwoken world. And I get to a point, like, Vow of Iron is meant to do this because you're basically in a simulation like The Matrix, but even The Matrix made people feel mostly immersed up until the events of the movie. Vow of Iron doesn't. It doesn't even feel like Deepwoken outside of the bosses. The rest of it feels like I'm playing a Battlegrounds game, or one of those Rogue Lineage modded games where it's some guys like fan ideas and stuff, and it's just kind of weird, and I just wish they implemented it more smoothly than how it actually came out. But yes, I do actually like the update quite a lot, other than the glitches, and I believe the difficulty is finally up to my minimum standard. I like how hard the bosses are. I think they're well designed. I just, as usual, hate the game's progression because it's so tedious, giving it like 10 minutes before every boss attempt. So essentially, great bosses, but I think the community should also just stop crying about their difficulty so much. However, terrible gameplay loop due to the 10-minute difference in Shogun attempts at the minimum, and then longer for bosses like Rat King. Like, if I wanted to get to Rat King right now, it would probably take me like 15, 20 minutes because I have to, probably longer, maybe 25 to 30 on the high end. Because what do I have to do to get to Rat King? I have to go do the Trial of One. That takes like maybe 10 minutes. I don't know how long the Trial of One takes. But we do the Trial of One. I get out of the Trial of One. I go back to the thing. I have to teleport to the main place because I can't teleport to the Temple of or whatever. Myrrh? Yeah, it's Myrrh. And then from there I have to find the Shogun. Sometimes it's like cheesed already or dead or something. And then I have to go server hop if that's the case because sometimes it doesn't spawn properly. And then I have to fight the Shogun. That takes like a few minutes on its own. Then I have to go to the rat, and then I have to fight the rat lord. It's stupid, okay? But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed. I'm dropping my mini Christmas album for all YouTube members pretty soon. If you want to hear me singing Christmas music, then buy a membership at any tier. And if you want a shout out, then buy a membership at tier 2 or higher. Speaking of, shout outs to members of tier 2 or higher: Green, Brick, Goobka, Highcard, Philip, Delusional Mo, Elstern, Fun Guns, V. Corey, Axelor, Taco Hadar, Broccoli, Carlia the Witch, Drizzy Drake Fan, and welcome new member at tier 2, Akio Sugikuna. I love you, and I could give you a big old smooch. Also, I hope I pronounced your name right. That was first try. I hope you all have an amazing day, and goodbye.